Next on 9 News at 4, road closures and evacuations as firefighters try to get a handle on a large grass fire near C470 in Kipling. Also ahead, new guidance from the CDC on how long people exposed to COVID should isolate. And tough travel conditions in the mountains as a surge of snow buries parts of western Colorado. And we begin with breaking news in southwest Littleton near Chatfield State Park. Look at this grass fire. Firefighters are working on a large grass fire. It's burning on the hogback just west of C470 in Kipling. They have already given it a name, the Oak Fire, and it's really being driven by some strong winds out there this afternoon. Proves how dry we are here in the Front Range. West Metro Fire Rescue says there are no air resources available right now in the region. They are getting some help from a tanker from Fort Collins, still about an hour out. So neighboring fire districts are helping out on the ground. 2 buildings at the Westerly Apartments have been evacuated. One evacuation order has also been issued for Ken Carroll Valley. So anyone in that area, they're telling you to evacuate, even if you don't want to stay at the evacuation center, which is Chatfield High School. They would like you to check in so they know that you're accounted for. Eastbound C470 is closed from Bellevue to Kipling. We're going to pass along all of the updates as we get them.
A surge of snow has been complicating travel through the high country. For a while this morning, eastbound I-70 was closed after a crash between Copper Mountain and Officers Gulch, about a mile east of Vail Pass. Now down here in the Denver area, clouds have been increasing throughout the day.
And the wind, and we may actually see some showers, some snow showers actually tonight. Meteorologist Chris Bianchi is joining us today. Chris, it's wet out west, but it's so dry to the east, and that explains this grass fire.
Yeah, I'm actually going to kind of get into that here. There's just such a difference between what we're seeing in the mountains, where we've really picked up just an enormous amount of snowfall over the last week. And here along the Front Range, we're dry and we continue to be on the windy side. Those wind gusts in around the Oak Fire, gusting around 30 miles an hour right now. Now, the good news is those winds will slacken as we get over the next few hours. They'll kind of gradually slacken as we head through the kind of 7, 8, 9 o'clock hour tonight. We will get a cold front that moves its way on through overnight as well, and that will bring us a chance for a spot flurry. Not a big deal in terms of those snow chances, but we do have the chance for a flurry overnight, but the winds will not be as much of an issue as we get into your day tomorrow as they are today. Now, at the core of the issue here with the Oak Fire, now we don't know what caused it exactly, but we do know that things along the urban corridor are tinder dry right now. It's a tinderbox here along the Front Range. It's bone dry here along the Front Range. We've picked up less than 2 inches of rain in Littleton since August the 1st. We normally average over 5 inches over that time span. Now, Kim and Alex, we were just talking about why it's been so warm and dry in Denver while the mountains have been getting all the snowfall. We're getting continually this same pattern. Upslope flow in the mountains, and then we just get these warm downsloping winds into the urban corridor, and this has been our pattern virtually all fall and early winter long. Hopefully we'll break that, though, later on this week.
That explained it.
I know. I'm like, that's a pretty graphic.
I got to give credit, meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen, our colleague, made that graphic, but it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I'm like, I get it.
Thank you.
I don't always get it. All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thanks, Chris. A truck driver sentenced to 110 years in prison will get a new hearing to reconsider that sentence. A judge made that decision today. The driver caused the deaths of 4 people in a 2019 crash.
In October, a jury found Rohel Aguilera Medeiros guilty of 27 charges stemming from the deadly crash along I-70 in Jefferson County. 9 News reporter Katie Eastman explains what happened in the case today and why this will not be a regular legal proceeding.
And there was confusion today on all sides because the judge said several times there is no precedent for the prosecution to file a motion for the sentence to be reconsidered. A defense attorney for Aguilera Medeiros said in Colorado it's only ever been done by the defense on behalf of their client. Earlier today, outside the Jefferson County Courthouse, people who never knew Rohel Aguilera Medeiros stood in support of him. They are just a few of the nearly 5 million who have signed a petition asking for leniency from his 110-year sentence. One the judge said he could not have discretion over because of Colorado's mandatory sentencing statute. But come next year, he could have the final say after the prosecution asked the court to reconsider that sentence. In a virtual hearing with no recording allowed, the judge voiced confusion over how this will impact the appeals process and the defendant's rights. But all sides agreed on a date for a reconsideration hearing. District Attorney Alexis King is recommending a sentence of 20 to 30 years. The defense believes that is still too long. They're hoping the governor considers their clemency application.
This is an exceptional case, and it requires an exceptional process. In finding its verdict, the jury recognized the extreme nature of the defendant's conduct, which warrants a prison sentence.
DA King only gave a statement after the scheduling hearing. She would not take any questions. That reconsideration hearing is scheduled for January 13th at 1:30, and at that time, the judge said the victims will have the opportunity to speak again if they would like. In Golden, I'm Katie Eastman, 9 News.
Both sides are expected to provide the court with additional information before that hearing on January 13th. Meanwhile, the governor's office is reviewing the request for clemency.
A change when it comes to isolation restrictions for folks who have been exposed to COVID-19. U.S. health officials made the announcement today. People with the virus can leave isolation after 5 days. That's down from 10 days. People exposed to the virus can also leave quarantine after 5 days. The CDC says the new guidance is keeping with growing evidence that the virus is most infectious in the first 2 days before and 3 days after symptoms start. The holiday rush, though, is not over when it comes to demand for COVID tests in Colorado. We have seen long lines at testing sites from Boulder to Douglas County. 9 News reporter Noel Brennan is in Lone Tree outside Sky Ridge Medical Center. And Noel, you've been watching those lines all day long.
Yeah, we have, Kim. In just the past few minutes here at Sky Ridge Medical Center, we saw a community safety officer with the city of Lone Tree actually block off the entrance to the testing site. He told us that traffic was backing up so badly today, they have shut down the site starting at 4 o'clock, and it was supposed to be open until 6 tonight. We also saw yesterday at this exact same site that there were lines, really long lines, and wait times up to 2 hours, so long that the city of Lone Tree was encouraging folks to go elsewhere to get tested. So here at this site, this is being run by a lab called Mako Medical. They are doing the testing here and at several sites across the state. A rep from that lab says they've seen a steady uptick in demand since November, and the week before Christmas was one of the busiest of the year. They're processing up to 1,500 tests a day. Dr. Richard Zane is Chief of Emergency Medicine for UC Health, and he says there's unprecedented demand for testing thanks to an unprecedented contagious variant, Omicron. But he says we should all take a deep breath and understand when COVID testing is most important. Right now, if you're vaccinated, boosted, and not showing any symptoms of COVID-19, Dr. Zane says you do not need a test and you can skip the long wait in a line like this.
If you are symptomatic, you should be tested, and we have adequate testing to test people who are symptomatic. If you need a test to go back to school or work or to travel, we have adequate testing. Where people are running into long lines is asymptomatic testing for unclear purposes.
When it comes to gathering for New Year's Eve, Dr. Zane had the following advice. He says if you are fully vaccinated, boosted, not showing any symptoms, and you're gathering with people who are in that same category, you have very low chances of spreading Omicron. Kim?
Okay, it's the question you got to ask or consider, because by the time we get to next week, people are going to be going back to work and kids will eventually be back to school. There's going to be a lot of folks that need to know.
Absolutely. And these lines, of course, they're not getting any shorter, but pass on that message to folks that if you're not showing those symptoms and you're fully vaccinated and boosted, doctors say you don't need to get a COVID test right now.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Noel.
Olympic gold medalist and Coloradan Michaela Shiffrin says she's tested positive for COVID-19. With less than 6 weeks before the start of the Winter Games in Beijing, Shiffrin will miss World Cup giant slalom and the races scheduled for tomorrow and Wednesday in Austria. And announcing this news, Shiffrin said she's doing well. She's following all the protocols and isolating. Shiffrin currently leads the points race for the overall World Cup title this season, but missing these next 2 events could be costly for her title hopes. Shiffrin already has 2 Olympic gold medals and a silver, and will still certainly be a medal contender at the Olympics, which begins in Beijing on February 4th, right here on 9 News.